Hey, welcome to another episode of geekoutdoors.com. And earlier in the week, Microsoft announced a little bit of news. And what they announced was that their voice search, Cortana, will no longer work on other browsers like Google's Chrome or Mozilla's Firefox or any other alternative browser. From now on, Cortana will only work on their Edge, formerly known as Internet Explorer browser, and it will only work on the Bing search engine. Surprise, surprise. So, basically, what that means is you're going to have to use Bing for all your searches, and you're going to have to use Microsoft's Edge browser. So, basically, they're going to force you to use their services. Okay? Whether you want to or not, if you want to use Cortana. And basically, the head of their search engine, Cortana program, I guess his name is Gavin, he was saying that this move in Windows 10 is being done is because they wanted to maintain the user experience of Windows 10. They want it to be reliable and more predictable. That's how it was designed. And they said directly or indirectly that by having other operating systems circumvent this, like Firefox or Google's Chrome, you are affecting the overall user experience that Windows 10 was intended to have in the first place. And we all know that isn't true. I mean, the actual truth is that, Microsoft is behind in the search engine field, and every time you do search on other search engines like Google or Yahoo, Microsoft doesn't get a cut of that. And also their Edge browser, it's not the most popular browser anymore. More people use Google Chrome, Firefox, and more people go into other, browsers such as Opera. Okay, so that's really what it's all about. Okay, and a lot of people are not surprised by this. I'm not surprised because this isn't the first time that Microsoft has done something like this. They've done this before a few years ago where they were running to antitrust problems, competitive problems in Europe where they were defaulting to Internet Explorer in their versions of Windows, and they weren't giving a alternative to set the default of their browser to something else like Mozilla Firefox, and so that caused a problem, you know. And so it's in Microsoft's history for them to do things like this, and it's easy for them to do it because they are the most popular desktop operating system in the world. But is it something that is bad, or is it something that is only done by Microsoft? Well, it's not. It's not the only thing done by Microsoft because other companies do this as well. And in terms of whether it's bad or not, there's definitely a negative side to it. But on another case, it makes a lot of business sense. So, other companies, let's go to companies like Apple, okay? They have a lot of control over their software and their whole platform. I mean, you remember not too long ago, a few years ago, where Apple was trying to basically replace and kick out Google Maps by using their Apple Maps, and then also they've changed a lot of the search engine features where before when you do search it would default to Google just like before like in Microsoft's Cortana, but now they're basically using their own search engines, and they want you to use their services and their software like Safari and so or their Siri search. So they are not the only one, and even Google themselves, the Android open source operating system. Just because it's open source, y'all, doesn't mean that it's free. It doesn't mean that you have complete freedom, and it does not mean that there isn't business intentions behind it. Because with all of this, they are all businesses. Like if you go to the Android developer site, if you go down to the licensing Google mobile services, you'll realize that in the Google mobile services, they're basically all your Google applications. Your Play Store, YouTube, Maps, Gmail, and Calendar, and anything else that's Google apps related. these are actually proprietary apps, and if you were like an OEM or original electronics manufacturer, say like you were building Android phones, and you wanted these Google services on your phone by default, you have to agree to the license the Google mobile services in order to get that. And so, yeah, Microsoft is not the only one, And speaking of open source, even very big, popular open source projects like Ubuntu, which is clearly the most popular Linux distribution in the world, and it's also the base of a lot of the most popular Linux distributions like Linux Mint, which is the one that I use. A few years back, they made a change to their their desktop environment, Unity. And what they did was they actually put Amazon Search on by default. So and this was a few years ago. So what that meant was, whenever you do a search, okay, if you've never used Ubuntu, it looks different from Windows. It's kind of similar to the Apple's Mac, but anyway, whenever you would do a search, on the Unity 8 desktop right here on the top left, whatever you search for, it would take those search terms and then it would pull up Amazon suggestions. So basically, it would go to Ubuntu service and then finally it would spit those search terms over to Amazon. And a lot of people in the open source, especially the Linux community, were really angry about this, especially Richard Stallman, who is the founder of Free Software Foundation. He basically touted this Amazon feature as spyware. Okay, now since then, Canonical, who is the creator and owners of the Ubuntu company, have turned this off by default, whereas it was on by default. Okay, and so this created a lot of uproar, and so yeah, these strategies are nothing new. They're nothing new, and like I said, they're not just Microsoft, as I showed you a little earlier. And in my opinion, I really feel like when changes like these are made, it makes me even happier that I'm not using Windows. That like I said in previous videos, I've been a Linux user for like 10 years now, and I've never looked back. And I cannot just think about like losing my ability to have choice. Having that freedom. And right now, my opinion, using Linux is still the best way to maintain some of your freedoms, some of your choices, and unfortunately, like I showed you with example with Ubuntu and even Android, that might change in the future. It just it's the reality is that businesses, you have to have money to run these businesses. Even if you are an open source project, even if you are a freedom software project, I mean, you still have people who do the job. You still have people who develop the programs. You have people who do the marketing. There's a lot of moving pieces involved in creating a business, especially a business that is profitable and sustainable. So in the future, regardless of which operating system you use, desktop or mobile, open source or not, the environment might all be the same. We might all have to live in a world where you basically your choices or whatever is given to you. So I know that might sound bleak, but that's just the reality. So right now I'm gonna enjoy my freedom as much as possible with Linux and to some extent with Android. And so if you had any thoughts on this new change by Microsoft on Cortana, leave them below. Do you like it? Do you not like it? I mean, does it make sense to you? I would like to hear that. So thanks for watching, and we will see you on another episode. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com, and I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.